justice for all.
Lord, we just want to thank you for allowing us to come together and participate in our local government. We just ask that you guide us and direct us, give us wisdom, and make the right decisions for Walton County. Mac, you got any announcements?
Yes, sir. We have 3 items that have requests to continue tonight. There may be some folks in the audience that were here to hear these items. We could go ahead and take care of the continuances.
Yes, sir.
The first request of those is the Boyles ROW Abandonment. This is item number 2 on our agenda tonight. We have a request to continue to July 9, 2020, regular Planning Commission meeting at 4 p.m. in this location.
You want to do all these at once, or you just want to take them individually?
Probably need to take them individually.
All right, board?
Motion to continue?
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Continued.
Item number 3, the Fishcamp Rezoning. This is a request to continue to July 9th, 2020 at 4 p.m. in this location. This is the property located at 60 McDaniels Fishcamp Road.
Okay, I had a couple of people that had signed up to speak. Is there any reason they wouldn't be able to be back on the 9th? Sorry, say that again? Would y'all like to speak on that subject tonight? Okay. Then we can get, okay, then come on up and we'll hear y'all's. Are you Shane? Yeah. Shane Wickham? Name and spell your last name.
Shane Wickham, W-E-I-C-K-U-M. We won't be here, we'll be out of the country, so hopefully everything goes right. But so he's wanting to rezone this from residential to commercial. I live across the street from there, and I hear truck backing up, beeping, beep, 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 all the time at night. Wakes me up. I got videos of it on my phone right here. I don't know if I can play it for you or not, but it's just disturbing to everybody that lives in that area. And so I'd like to not see that happen. He had the place built as commercial property before he even got the authority to do so. So that's not right. So yeah, it's just bothering me. It's bothering the neighbors. It's the video that I got to 11:30 at night. You can hear it in my house. It's just disturbing, and I'd like to see that not happen. And he's got wreckers. He's got junk cars over there. It's an eyesore. So the neighborhood looks good, but you look over there, it looks like he's running a junkyard.
Okay. All right.
That's, pretty much it. I don't think it belongs in that area. It's an eyesore. It's a disturbance. It's annoying. You try to sleep at night, and I'm hearing beeping in my house. So.
Well, they'll hear the entire case next month. I'm
Okay.
sorry you can't be here, but we'll have your information. Will be a
If
record now. So.
if that falls through, can we still come and speak?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. Okay. Okay.
All right.
All right.
Thank you.
Yep. Thanks.
The other one's Charlie Altman.
How are y'all?
Good. Are you going to be able to come back next week?
I'm
next
not
month?
sure yet. Okay, my name is Charlie Altman, Jr. I live right behind the store that's there. I've got the same problem too. At night, being woke up. Not only that, I've been over there and see them turning their truck around in the store, backing across the road at night. And I don't know if y'all are aware where this place is, but there's a curve right there, a bad curve. A few years back, about 3 years back, just a little history, my son was hit by a record truck around that curve. hit him from behind doing about 50 miles an hour. He had 2 plastic surgeries, and all because this guy was running to answer a call, not paying attention, on his truck, typing, and just totally, and I happened to hear the wreck, not realizing it was my son, and went out there and found him bleeding out on the side of the truck, and had to basically be the first one there on site. This ain't the place for a record service. The same thing was happening down the road. Some guys were operating a record service out of their house. Okay, and this is what just kind of crawls me right here. I ain't so much against the building the man built, but I'm against the junkyard that he is creating. I would like to know the history of where he come from and what he left when he left. I think that's something we should look into. And furthermore, like I said, it's the junkyard. You know, little history. My house, I built it with my hands. I cleared the land with my hands. What I've got there, I've had to sweat for, and I'm not interested in somebody coming in and just driving my property value down. It's not right. He could have come to y'all beforehand and asked y'all, hey, can I do this? But he did not. He done it sneaky. And this is what I'm against. Before I built my house, I had to come and get a permit to even break ground and turn a shovel. He should have to do the same thing as I did and go through the same legal aspects as I did. And like I said, the junkyard is totally unacceptable. It's not for our neighborhood. Down the road, you know, you've got Live Oak Landing. You've got people coming from all over the states. And they're coming down this road and looking to the right and they see a junkyard. I don't think it should be there. That's what I got to say.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
All right, we've got a recommendation on the request to continue.
Chairman, would it be prudent maybe to have those folks, since they're not going to be back next meeting, since they voiced their opinion, and we have other things that we'll be doing between now and then, and maybe have those things in writing, that they can put that stuff in writing so we can refresh our memories as to your objections to it, so we can read over that maybe in your absence when it comes back up in front of us.
They can, you talking about what they said, or
What they said, what your objections are to that, since if you can't be here at next meeting, maybe just what you said tonight. I know it'll be a matter of record here, but for you to put it in writing so can read over it next month and be able to refresh our memories easy. Do that?
All right, thank you. All right, board. We need a motion.
Motion to continue.
Motion is second. All in favor?
Aye.
All right, Mac.
Thank you, Commissioners. We have one last request to continue, and that is item number 9 as part of our QJ agenda. This is the Wildwood Village Major Development. They are requesting to continue to the July 9th, 2020 Planning Commission meeting at 4 p.m. in this location.
Okay, we had a few people that had signed up for this one too. Mary Carmichael. Are you going to be here next? Okay. And
Thomas Khalil.
Thomas, are you going to be here?
I'll be here, John.
Okay, all right, thanks. All right, board. What are your wishes?
Motion to continue.
Second.
All right, motion is second. All in favor?
Aye.
All right, motion passes. Matt, before you continue though, I need to go and we need to get the minutes passed. Skip that one. So y'all had a chance to look at the minutes?
Motion to approve.
Second?
Second.
All right, motion is second. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Okay, Mac.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The first item that we'd like to hear tonight is item number 4 on the agenda. This is the petition for abandonment. It's been reviewed by Bob Baronti. We'll let Bob briefly introduce it before the applicant presents their case.
Okay.
Good evening. As Max said, this is a petition for abandonment. It's submitted by Emerald Coast Associates on behalf of Sapp Investments, LLC, requesting an abandonment of 33 feet on the south end. The property has a future land use residential in the zoning district of neighborhood infill. The project is located from US Highway 98 and South Walton Lakeshore Drive, south on South Walton Lakeshore Drive to Magnolia Lane, Walton Magnolia Lane. It's on the south side of the road. The parcel numbers are entered into your staff report. All comments have been addressed. The applicant is here to answer any questions. Do you have any questions for me before I turn it over to the applicant?
No, I don't. Does anybody else?
No.
Could you please enter the staff report into record?
Yes, thank you.
Thank you.
Good afternoon, members of the board. My name is Dean Burgess. I'm with Emerald Coast Associates. I represent the owner for the abandonment that's before you tonight. Just for some perspective, I went ahead and brought this board display. The abandonment in question runs along the southern 33 feet here of this subdivision. As you can see, it's all south of the CCCL. The red line here is the CCCL. It is not interconnected with any other public right-of-way. You know, there's a public right-of-way here. This was the Lupin Beach development. In the course of their site plan and approval, the right-of-ways within that development were abandoned and replatted as private right-of-ways. So there isn't an interconnectivity that would serve for utilities. All utilities come through Walton Magnolia Lane, which is here to the north. The ability to use that for a road really doesn't serve anything because this is Lupin Beach, this is Lupin Beach. They have all roads internal. So I think this is one of those cases where there really and truly isn't a need or use for this right-of-way. And the owner-developer basically would reclaim 33 feet along the southern portion of these lots. Perhaps they could get a pool or otherwise just have the peace of mind that they're not going to have somebody walking through essentially their backyard in the future. Be happy to answer any questions that the board may have.
I got one. That's up in the dune line, isn't it?
It is up in the dune line. Like I say, there's obviously some vegetation there. I can't see the county coming in there and clearing that for any purpose, utilities or roadways, and that's the purpose of these easements is access and utility. There is a dune walkover here that is accessed directly from the right-of-way here, so it would maintain that. There's no connectivity. That would be obstructed to that dune walkover.
Does this affect the ability of people to go to the beach down there as far as having access to that beach, not having access down through it? I know you said there's a walkover going through, but as far as in front of those lots, does it have any bearing
It
on
would
that?
not alter their ability to use the beach, whether their rights to use the beach would be unchanged.
So, because this property line doesn't go all the way to water line, is what you're saying, right?
No, sir, it does not.
Okay.
Property line ends here.
Gotcha.
And actually Lupin Beach is between these lots and the beach.
So people still have access through there.
That's correct. Well, it would just be an abandonment of the right-of-way. The vegetation requirements as far as impact to the vegetation remains within the CCCL. It is only for building structures and access to those structures.
I assume you'd have to come back for a permit for that, wouldn't you?
Correct. Yeah, any type of usage of that would have to come back through and
Either build a pool or something like that, you'd have to come back through to.
Well, to change their plat, right now their plat still shows that 33-foot easement. They'd have to change the plat, and that would be subject to review by this board as well. Well, by the Board of County Commissioners, I'm sorry, it doesn't come through Planning Commission.
They take them individually and look at them. Anybody got any more questions?
Thank you.
Is there anybody in the audience that would like to speak to this? Everybody in the audience. What's the board
Motion to approve.
I didn't see anything in all the information that looked like there would be a problem with it, and I think the property next door already had an abandonment, hadn't it?
It went through the process, actually Lupin Beach objected to it, and it was not granted. But Lupin Beach supports this. We haven't had any objection to this abandonment.
County standpoint, the engineer has always been to not give up.
But like I've said in the past, that's, whether they like it or not, they got a standard boilerplate response to everything on this, so I think it's, it's worth our time to look at each one of them instead of just going by that, because otherwise our response would be standard no.
Planning Department typically does not comment on abandonment requests unless it's a proposed abandonment of access to the beach, which we vehemently object to. In this particular case, this easement is landlocked. We've got Lupin Beach that'll wrap around on the west and the south side. We've got the Shoreline 9 townhomes that are constructed some 20, 30 years ago on the lot immediately to the east of this lot, and another single-family home that is the last lot before we hit the dune walkover for TDC and the county line. This is truly in an area that I can't see us ever having the ability to use this, much less the need.
Now, if the county abandons it, they could potentially build beyond the CCL, given where the other properties in the neighborhood are. Is that correct?
Everything over there had to be approved, or at least the houses had to be approved by DEP if they're forward to the CCCL. We've got an approved project that is platted in this location. To be able to use this area, they'd have to come back through and replat to remove that. But right now, those lots are defined in a plat, and without the plat being amended, they can't build anything there.
Thank you, Mac. We got a motion.
Question, one more question. Said Lupin Beach did not object to this.
Correct.
Do you have that in writing or something, or?
I do not, but we have no comments from Lupin Beach.
Having met with both parties to discuss this particular easement and the interface between that particular project and Lupin Beach and this project owner are working together to improve the interface between the two projects. We have modified both of those projects to eliminate a retaining wall. So the two projects would look more like one project rather than two separate developments. So I can certainly stipulate that Lupin Beach is in favor of this abandonment.
Thank you.
All right, we got our motion. Do we have a second? Well, I'm gonna pass the gavel to Mike so that I can make a second on this. And we can vote. All right, I will second the motion.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Questions?
Well, I mean, I'll say this, since I made the second, was listening to Mac and everything, I know nobody really likes to do abandonments, but if this thing's got no use for the county, they can't see use, and it's landlocked, doesn't look like they can do anything else with it. It's probably going to improve from what Mac is saying, what they'll do with the other project down there, then that's why I wanted to be a second on this.
Okay.
Could you tell me again why it improves on the other property down there? What was that?
Mac said that.
Oh, okay.
I'm sorry, what was the question?
Lee said that he thought that you had said that it would, the others felt it would be an improvement to the property down there, that you had indicated that. How is that so? How does that make?
When you said both sides working together on it?
Yes, both of these developers are working together to improve the interface between their two projects. The Lupin Beach project was approved first, and as part of that, a large retaining wall was approved as part of that project. That would have been the southern boundary of the Sapp development. The easement is immediately north of where that retaining wall is. Removing this easement would help us with landscape buffer and the natural area that we like to protect in this particular area, rather than having the construction of a retaining wall and the disruption of that portion of the dune and all of the natural vegetation. All of the parties felt like it would be better for the county and those projects if we eliminated that portion of the construction. This will help with that.
If it's, the abandonment does not go through, would they still do the retaining wall?
No, they will not.
No, they're not going to one way or the other.
Not either way. And we've already approved the removal of the retaining wall from the plan.
Any other questions? Have a motion and a second? All in favor?
Aye.
Nay.
No. Yeah.
Okay,
Fail.
motion fails. I'll pass the gavel back.
All right, I mean, I don't guess we got any of our commissioners online, do we? He's not gonna vote on it, though. I was the one, didn't know if Tom or John were online.
I'm here.
Yeah, I think John is there.
Oh, is
I am
he?
here.
How did he vote?
I'll be honest with you. I came in halfway through, and so I didn't feel comfortable voting. I got here a little bit late, so I didn't think my vote was a proper tally since I didn't hear the entire run through.
Okay,
Yeah, no, I saw John come on at some point. I wasn't sure if he was there from the beginning, but I agree. If he didn't hear the entire item, it wouldn't be proper to vote. So he'll just participate in the next item.
okay.
Correct.
All right, thank y'all.
Would it be appropriate to either request to continue or represent?
I think you can represent here. It's when it goes to the board that if you get turned down there, the commissioners, that you have to wait a year, from what I understand. But that's not the case with this board, I don't believe. Mac, is there a delay or time that you have to?
If it were a land use change request, future land use map or zoning, you'd be precluded from making the request again for 12 months. Outside of that, it can come back for reconsideration.
Okay, so you can bring it back.
Understanding that John came in halfway, would I be able to request to continue this to month and re-vote on it, or would I need to reapply and go through the process?
Well, I think Sydney can probably answer that. Sydney?
Since the board already heard the item, it would require a vote of this board to consider either reconsidering the item tonight or continuing it to the next meeting and reconsidering at that time.
I don't know if it's gonna
But
make
it
a
would
lot of
require
difference. I mean,
a majority of the board.
unless you just were requesting that because you want it on the record that way, but.
Well, I'd like to get as many commissioners involved in the vote as possible. And
But you can bring it back anytime, is what she's saying. We don't have to vote to continue it. I think we can just bring it back.
All right.
Kenny Mac, how long is he gonna wait? I guess he'd have to re-advertise and all that again. So there would be some things that you'd have to do, instead of a continuance.
Yeah, since we've already had a vote, I don't know that we can have a continuance now.
Yeah.
Unless Sydney has a different opinion.
No, I mean, we've already And I'm sorry, Dean, if you didn't realize that we didn't have a full board. But since the board's already acted, they would have to vote to reconsider, and, be a discretionary decision. The meeting minutes will reflect, though, that there were only 5 commissioners present to hear the item.
Okay. All right, well, we'll decide whether we want to continue on or whether we want to go ahead and reapply and come back before this board. I appreciate it.
Sure. Okay. All right.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, that moves us to item number 5, the Paladini J.D. Miller rezoning. This has been reviewed by Bob Baronti. I'll ask him to introduce it for us.
Evening. This is a request approved by ordinance, project number REZ 20-000001 is being reviewed by myself. This is a rezoning application submitted by Nautilus Engineering on behalf of the Paladinis, requesting approval to change the zoning from Town Center 1 to Coastal Center mixed use, with the current future land use remaining the same of mixed use on 3.12 plus or minus acres. The project is located at 830 J.D. Miller Road and is identified by the parcel number in your staff report. Mr. Chair, all comments been addressed. This rezoning request meets the comprehensive plan and land development plan or land development code. All comments, as I said, have been addressed. The applicant is here to answer any questions you may have, and I would answer any questions you may have of me before I turn it over to the applicant.
Questions?
Could I enter the staff report in the record, please, sir?
Yes, thank you.
Thank you. I'll turn it over to the applicant.
Good afternoon, Curtis Smith with Nautilus Civil Engineers here on behalf of the Paladinis. I'm going to turn a couple of times just to look at actually, here we go. It's in front of me. So we're bringing you rezoning today for a project site that's currently zoned Town Center 1. Some of you members have probably been around for Town Center 1 hearings. Some of you may not. Town Center 1 is a specialty zoning district and future land use district in Walton County. It's been a little bit confusing over the years. Each project that comes through tends to have a couple of items they have to get through because of that Town Center 1 master plan and some of those interpretations of that plan. So this project is requesting to go to Coastal Center mixed use. If you could step forward about 2 or 3 slides here. The Coastal Center mixed use district is kind of the closest one we found that was really just a sidestep of the requirements. And there's really one specific reason for this request, and that is because Town Center 1, by interpretation of our planning department, requires a mixture of uses on project sites. I've discussed this over many years and many projects with our planning department, and we keep coming back to the same, that the interpretation is 3 uses on a project. This particular project site is only about 3 acres, whereas the vast majority of town center zoning sites in this area, if you could step back 2 slides, please. I'm sorry, go forward 1. This is the current zoning map. You can see in yellow all of the Town Center 1 parcels. You can see the vast majority of them are pretty large. The ones that aren't large are usually owned multiple by the same entity. And this one in the middle here is the small one sandwiched between parcels that are not Town Center 1, and it's 3 acres. So I've got a couple of examples too to show you kind of what happens when we do the 3-use interpretation. If you could step forward 2 slides. This was the Miller's Crossing townhomes. Their particular project, they came through, they had 20 acres to work with. They dedicated a public park on the southeast corner. They put a boardwalk through it. The idea was that one day this thing would connect to the school. It doesn't look like that's going to happen, unfortunately. So they had enough land to kind of skirt that requirement and get basically a single-use project with potential for something in the future. If you'll go to the next slide, please. This is the Southern Apartments. They did basically the same thing. They put a boardwalk through the wetlands. They had 10 acres to work with here, not nearly 10 to work with in terms of usability because of all the wetlands. But they dedicated some of the upland area in the back for public park also. So they had some ways around that requirement. Unfortunately, this 3-acre site doesn't have the land really to get around that requirement, nor do I really think it needs to. I think some of the ways that we're getting around a hard interpretation of the requirements are probably not the best. I don't know that these parks will ever be developed, so we don't want to do that on this project going forward. We want to just go ahead and rezone this, get it shifted sideways to the same density intensities. If you would step back to the table, please. The same density and intensity requirements. So you can see that the residential density is actually 4 units per acre base up to 10 units. I'm currently on Town Center. It's 4 units per acre up to 12 per acre in coastal center mixed use. That's with density bonus points in terms of conservation, easements, public parks. There's a lot of different ways you can get those bonus points. The reality of this site is it won't happen because they don't have those vast amounts of wetlands and things to transfer that density over to the smaller areas. So that's essentially a sidestep there on the residential. The allowable non-residential intensity is 0.85, same for both districts. The allowable non-residential FAR, at the time of preparing this, we found there is actually a discrepancy in the comp plan and LDC, which we thought were all corrected, but I believe they're going to work on correcting that one. It says 2.0 currently in Town Center 1, and the LDC says 2.0 in CCMU. The comp plan says 0.75, so really the comp plan would override in that case. So technically, the commercial intensity for floor area ratio would be going down by this change. So residential sidestep, commercial would be going down on the intensity. And of course, the main thing that we're here for is that minimum required uses by interpretation, it goes to 1 use instead of 3, which we think is probably appropriate for a 3-acre parcel. Even our land development code for village mixed use zoning acknowledges that by having a statement in there that parcels less than 4 acres don't have to do a mixture of uses. Unfortunately, that doesn't exist in Town Center 1. So that's really the basis of what this is for. I had some conceptual plans that we've kind of been playing with over the time. I'm happy to show those to you if you want, but the reality is there's no actual plan for this project going forward. I think the desire really is to do some sort of a neighborhood commercial type development because the town center has gotten so heavily built out with apartments and townhomes. The need for residential probably isn't there. The only other project in the works is actually Point Washington Preserve, 60 apartments that are going just southwest of this that we've been working on. The other recent projects were the townhomes and the southern apartments. I believe the Southerns are working on phase 2. So we've got all of this residential. We don't really need a whole lot more here. So I think the desire will be to go to commercial. Again, if you want to see some of those concepts, we have them in our slides here. Otherwise, I will just take any questions you've got.
Okay. Anybody got any questions for him?
Would that change affect the other adjoining properties, any?
Can you step back to the zoning map? So the adjoining properties currently are Paget Park to the south and east. Paget Park has a parking lot on the south portion. And actually, if you'll step back 2 more, it'll be the actual aerial without the colors. So Paget Park is there. On the north, it's actually the schools, I believe. Yeah, that's the access for Walton or South Walton High. That's got an access roadway, and between the access roadway and this site is just I believe, a massive amount of wetlands that really probably won't ever be developed. So it's surrounded by the Paget Park on the east and the parking lot of that on the south and wetlands on the north. So it doesn't really affect them too much.
Anything else?
When you say commercial development, is that like a Tom Thumb or?
No, of course, I don't really even think that would fit this area.
Right.
Any kind of development that they do, of course, will go through the review processes. And we've already proposed at one time, development that the planning department didn't feel good about when we started, before we even started the rezoning process. We talked it through with them, and we decided it's best to not do that yet. And let's go ahead and get this rezoning done so we can first establish, before we all spend months and, thousands of dollars from these folks on coming up with a real plan. Let's establish that we can get a single use before we get to that.
Conceptual drawings, what are those of?
We'll show them to you real quick. Step forward just a couple here. That was the original that the planning department didn't really like. So we were going to try to probably work through and see if there was anything we could do there. It was just for some indoor storage, mainly. And that was really to serve all the people that live there. Apartment complexes have nowhere to store anything. So that was really what that intention was, for that sort of storage. The next one is really just commercial strip or office, retail or office. As you can see by the size of the building, we've got a little bit left over. That's about 1,250 square foot or so. It's not major because this is only 3 acres. It's going to be fairly small. The next slide was actually if they go with a single family, you get about 21 single family lots on it. And the next one is multifamily if they decide to do what everyone else is doing in the area, just townhomes. So a couple of townhomes, nothing really compared to Miller's Crossing or anything. That would be the intensities we would be looking at for development here.
Anybody else got any questions? Okay, thank you. Did anybody in the audience like to speak to this? We didn't have anybody sign up, so. Okay, don't see anybody. We'll close public comments. What's the board's wishes?
Motion to approve?
Second it. Have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion approved.
Aye.
Don, did you vote?
Aye.
Oh, okay. Right, Mac, you got something else?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. That concludes our legislative section of the agenda, and we're moving to the quasi-judicial section now.
Need to swear people in?
Yeah. Mac, is Rachel there this time?
No, she is not.
Okay. And Karen, is your notary still expired? Yeah. Okay. We don't have anybody else there who's a notary?
Oh, we do. Mike Barker's one.
Well, no, somebody's not on the board.
Yeah, if we got somebody.
Yeah.
We're getting someone.
I'm sorry, I should have thought of that before. If we can get somebody from the planning department to come in and swear in the witnesses.
Yeah, we're gonna need to make sure they tell the truth. I can see some out there.
I know it's a formality, but I could try to do it with the people I can see on the video if I personally know them. But if it's anybody,
We'll
I
have
don't know, I
someone
wouldn't be
in
able to
just a
swear
few
them in
minutes.
remotely. Okay. Sorry about that.
You probably do know everybody.
Well, if that's the case,
Can we
if
turn
I
the
know
camera
them,
to the
they can
audience?
forward, I can swear them in. Well, or as they come up one by one, Mac, I'll be able to see them whenever they're standing where you're standing, and I can just swear them in real quick that way, if I personally know them.
Okay.
You want to start that way until we can find somebody from planning to come over?
Sure, we can do that. Yeah. that'll
Okay.
work. All right, go ahead, Mac. Y'all can sit down now.
Mac, if you want, I'll just go ahead and swear you in, because I know you're going to be presenting the items. If you'll raise your hand.
Just got it
Okay,
raised.
here we go. Do you swear or affirm the testimony you'll provide to this board will be the truth?
I do.
Okay, thank you.
Now we have a notary here.
Okay. You're swearing everybody in.
Sydney, you want to go ahead and swear everyone in mass?
We'll go ahead and do that then, yeah.
Yes. Who is the notary that came in?
Abby?
Evie, okay. So Evie, all you'll do is ask everybody to stand who's going to testify on any of the remaining items. You know, just ask them to raise their right hand. And then just ask them whether the testimony they will provide to this board will be the truth. And ask them to swear to that. That's it. Just say, okay.
All right, thank you.
Just say, do you swear to, that the testimony you'll provide to this board will be the truth?
Oh. We good,
Thank you,
Sydney?
Abby.
Thank you.
Okay.
Yes, yeah, thank you guys, I'm sorry, I should have thought about that before.
We're doing.
Oh, yeah.
Can we take down that boundary survey that's up there? It's distracting if it's not what we're doing.
On to the next item.
This is item number 6, Los Rancheros of Santa Rosa Beach. It's a request to approve major development. It's been reviewed by Tim Brown. I'll ask Tim to introduce it for us.
Okay.
Good evening, Tim Brown with Planning and Development. This is a major development order application submitted by Nautilus Civil Engineers requesting approval to develop a 6,374 square foot restaurant and associated infrastructure on 3.94 acres with the future land use of mixed use and a zoning of village mixed use. It's located on the north side of US Highway 98, east of Hunters Road and west of Don Bishop Road. Los Rancheros currently has a location in a strip center, which is, I think, Emerald Coast Plaza down on 98. Well, they like their own standalone store, restaurant, so this is the request for that. This was approved by the TRC on March 4th. They moved it forward to the Design Review Board. The Design Review Board approved it with a vote of 5-0 at their May 7th meeting with a condition that the rooftop HVAC equipment shall be screened on all sides of the building. With that, I'll entertain any questions the board may have, and I'd like to enter the staff report into the record, please.
Okay, thank you. Y'all got any questions for staff? Okay, thanks, Tim.
Curtis Smith again, with Nautilus Civil Engineers. This project has been delayed quite some time. We've been working on this for quite a while. We originally submitted as a minor development order. In the process, Tim Brown found out that our code was not updated as he thought it was, so that it still needed to go through the major process. This is well under the 20,000 square foot commercial. However, it's in the scenic corridor, which requires the major process. We've been through all the technical comments. I've gotten everything kind of settled out on that in terms of traffic, drainage, those sorts of things. We've been through DRB. They've made the request about the HVAC. We've since had the architect revise those drawings to fully screen in the rear, and he also showed the HVAC on the elevation. So we've provided what they've asked of us. So the next thing is just kind of moving through the process, and hopefully we can get these folks a new standalone restaurant. I know a lot of you guys have probably been to Los Rancheros, and you would agree that they probably need their own standalone restaurant. So we'll entertain any questions that you've got.
Board, you got any questions? Okay. Thanks, sir. We got anybody in the audience that would like to speak to this? Being none, we'll close public comments. Board, what are your wishes?
Motion to approve.
Motion and second. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We're moving to item number 7. This is the Origins Grocery. It's a request to approve by final order, and this major development has been reviewed by Renee Bradley. And I'll ask her to briefly introduce it for us before the applicant's presentation.
I'm Renee Bradley, Planning and Development. This is a major development order application submitted by McNeil Carroll Engineering on behalf of the Watersound Company, LLC. They're requesting approval to construct a 62,213 square foot commercial retail building consisting of multiple tenants on 15.68 acres. And this 15.8 acres is of a 55-acre tract. The future land use and zoning is the Bay Walton Sector Plan Town Center. They're located north of US Highway 98 at the northwest intersection of Watersound Parkway and 98, and is identified by the parcel IDs in your packet. There's no outstanding technical comments. The DRB at May 7th meeting also had the same about the HAV being covered on the rooftop as far as being screened. And I'm here to answer any questions of the board. I'd also like to enter staff report into the record, sir.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
You got any questions for staff?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening, Robert Carroll, McNeil Carroll Engineering, 17800 Panama City Beach Parkway. I'm the engineer of record on this project. Renee gives such a great presentation. There's not a whole lot more to add other than we're excited this project's coming into Watersound. I think everyone's familiar with the location there. We've gone through the review process. I brought some renderings if you're interested in seeing what the building looks like and a site plan, but I'm more here just to answer any questions if you have any.
Is this,
Robert?
go ahead, I'm sorry.
Is this where the new Publix is proposed?
Yes, sir. We started at Origins Grocery prior to a contract being agreed, and now it has been, so now it's Publix. Yes, sir.
That was my question, I just didn't know what it was. And it looks like there's some out parcels or out small.
There's two out parcels out front, and then when you have the building itself, there's retail on the east side, and there's a standalone retail on the west side.
Do you know what that's gonna be at this point?
No, sir.
Okay.
It's probably, they always have the typical tenants, but kind of gives you an idea what the building looks like. I've never seen a Publix quite like this. It's quite outstanding.
Any other questions? Okay.
Thank you.
We'll open it up to public comments. Anybody want to speak on this? Seeing none, we'll close public comments. Board, what's your wishes?
Motion to approve.
Have a motion?
Second?
Second? All in favor?
Second.
Aye.
Aye.
We got you, John.
Thank you, Fran.
Motion approved. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This moves to item number 8, the Walton County TDC Visitor Center Administrative Offices. This major development's been reviewed by Bob Baronti, and I'll ask Bob to review it for us.
Good evening again. As Mike said, this is a major development order application submitted by Dewberry Engineering on behalf of Walton County Board of County Commissioners requesting approval to construct the TDC Visitor Center and Administrative Offices on 3 ± acres with a future land use of mixed use in the zoning district of Village Mixed Use. The project is located at 24604 US Highway 331 South and is identified by the parcel numbers in your staff report. All comments have been addressed. This application went to this month's DRB and was approved, and now they are coming to you for your consideration. All comments have been addressed, and it meets the comprehensive plan. Any questions of me before I turn it over to the applicant?
Questions of staff?
You enter the staff report into record, please, sir?
Yes, thank you.
Thank you. I'll turn it over to the agent.
Okay.
Good evening, Planning Commissioners. My name is Cliff Nauer. I'm Associate Vice President of Dewberry Engineers. I'm also the engineer of record on this project. A year or so ago, the Walton County purchased 2 parcels of land where the Sandcastles building is currently sitting. The idea behind buying the property was to build a new state-of-the-art visitor center that would accommodate our tourists that we really are not doing a great job of accommodating now with the location that they're working out of. And so the idea would be that all the staff that works at the current TDC would be moving this to this new building location. And we took into account a lot of the issues that the TDC has had with their current location to make sure we address all of those with this new project. It's approximately a 21,000 square foot building. We've got ample parking. We're required to have about 80 spaces. We've got 98 spaces. And if I could just show you briefly, one of the challenges that we had was laying out this project so that we can have RVs be able to come in, stop, even if they're towing another vehicle, and have plenty of room to make a circle and get back out of the parking lot. And so a lot of the layout and design has been based on setting it up so that RVs can make it to the visitor center. And we have more than adequate parking for the staff of the TDC, and substantially more parking than what's required by the code. And so we wanted to make sure we had plenty of parking for everybody. The architect on the project is Shelton Stone. He's with me today, and our landscape architect was Brad Davis. We set the building back in this area back here so that as people are headed south on 331, they would really have a good visibility of the building as they move towards the turn lane to come into the facility. This lot right here is pretty heavily wooded, and so we wanted to make sure that as people come in, they can see the building as good as possible. We have some educational components that we've included with it, a timber boardwalk that will go through loop all the way around the wetlands with some educational materials and placards and so forth that we're putting on a timber boardwalk area to identify, plants that we have in our local wetlands and so forth. We also have a pond that we plan on putting in so that we can accommodate our koi fish and turtles and all the things that are at the TDC now, so that people will still get a chance to see those type of things. But the visitor center itself is going to be unbelievable. The new visitor center building for just the visitor center is going to be 2.5 stories tall. It's about roughly 3,000 square feet, and we're going to be putting in a lot of state-of-the-art interactive type machinery for people that do come to visit. This is a north elevation of the building, and so this would be if you were facing the plumbing supply store, would be right behind this if you were facing that way. And then this elevation would be if you were on 331. There is a large courtyard, about a 5,000 square foot courtyard that we have for outdoor events, seating and gatherings and those kinds of things. And we, as they mentioned, have made it through DRB with no conditions, and are hopeful that we can make it through this and the Board of County Commission meeting to move forward. I'll be happy to answer any kind of questions.
What are they going to do with the current building?
As far as I know, it's currently leased by the county from the forestry department. And I'll let Jay address that.
Good evening. I'm Jay Tusa. I'm the executive director of the TDC. So we have had conversations with DEP. They are the property owners. We lease the property through a long-term lease. And so we've had conversations with them if they would, in terms of the lease, it needs to be used for a visitor center. So we're in conversations with them if they would allow us to use it for something. And those conversations are ongoing, but it looks like will allow us to use it for something else. One thing that we've talked about internally is possibly using it for the code enforcement department and the permitting department. Right now, they are looking for a new home. Code enforcement just broke off from the TDC, and now they're their own entity. And so we're looking for a new home for them in the future. So this might be a good place for them.
So that building that's the Sandcastle building, was the Sandcastle building, this is not on that property?
No, so that's parking lot. So when you were looking at that rendering, the parking lot will be on that portion of the property.
Okay, so.
And we own the adjacent property next door. There's two pieces of property. We purchased one from Regional Utilities as well. And so the building will be on the Regional Utilities site.
Yeah, Sandcastle sits right here.
Okay, I got you.
You're not going to knock that one down?
Actually, we're looking to sell it right now, so we have, are requesting bids on that building right now, so that should be closing in the next few weeks. I think it's the end of June that closes.
Either way, it's gone.
It's going, correct.
It's a steel frame building with stucco, so they'll be able to put the stucco off, disassemble the steel frame and use it wherever they want.
All right.
Any other questions?
Board, no, any questions?
We do have a letter, I'm assuming this, from the sanctuary. Have you seen that letter about the traffic? Learned about the excess of U-turns going south to the TDC proposed.
Would you like me to address that? I think I can address that a little bit for you.
Please.
So, as far as U-turns go, we anticipate the majority of the visitors to the center will be coming down south off of 331, so we don't think that will be an issue. Right now, where our center is currently, we're the kind of, thanks for visiting Walton County Visitor Center after the fact, where it's located. So I don't foresee that being an issue. And I also say that we have about 19,000 visitors frequenting the visitor center right now. So if you do the math, that's about 52 a day. So I kind of am curious what the sanctuary numbers are for the folks that live there. I'm pretty confident it's more than 52. So I don't think it would really be a hindrance to the area with traffic.
I can't remember on the documents that we reviewed, did you have to do a traffic survey or, yeah? Okay, I remember that part. I couldn't remember the other.
We were required by DOT to put in a right. There will be some trips generated by employees.
Sure.
That work there, but the majority of people that are coming to the visitor center are not coming here to go to the visitor center. They're coming here to go somewhere else, and they're gonna stop at the visitor center before they get to their destination. Not really generating a lot of traffic. It's more of a stop. We don't have any concerns about causing traffic problems on our four-lane highway as a result.
I don't usually stop at visitor centers after I'm leaving them.
No, it's a little late then, isn't it?
Yeah.
Look what you should have done while you were here.
Yeah, too late to get coupons.
All right, any other questions? All right, thank y'all. We got anybody in the audience, public that would like to speak on this? All right, seeing none, we'll close public comments. Board, what's your wishes?
Motion approved.
Have a motion and a second? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you, John. Motion approved.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
And Matt, we got one more, don't we?
Sure.
This is our final item, number 10 on our agenda tonight. This is the Summit Building Parking Addition. The major development has been reviewed by Bob Baronti. I'll ask Bob to introduce it for us.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Okay. This is a major development order application submitted by Jenkins Engineering Incorporated on behalf of Tony Asher, requesting approval to develop 10 to 14 additional parking spaces on .223 plus or minus acres with a future land use of mixed use in the official zoning district of Coastal Center. The current location is 515 Tops Beach Boulevard, Miramar Beach, and is identified by the parcel number in your staff report. Mr. Chair, all comments have been addressed. This project has gone to the DRB and been approved. It meets the comprehensive plan. The applicant is here to speak on this matter. If you don't have any questions for me, I'd like you to enter the staff report in the record.
Okay, we can enter those. Y'all got any questions?
Thank you. I'll turn it over to the agent.
Good evening. I'm Scott Jenkins with Jenkins Engineering. I think Bob did a good job of explaining exactly what the project is. It's as far as location, so you can see here, this is Holiday Road, and this is a parcel that the parking will be located on. This is the Summit Building. and the parking will just be an extension of the parking area here, and they're actually adding 17 new spaces. It has been through review, went to Design Review Board. I do want to point out that at Design Review Board, they requested that we make a change to our landscape plan, and I brought copies of that if you guys need them. They asked us to change our crepe myrtles to dwarf crepe myrtles and our oak trees to fringe trees because of the overhead Gulf power lines. So if you guys want this, I can pass these out.
Yeah, it does look bad when they start cutting the tops out of those oak trees.
It does. Doesn't work well with that. No, it doesn't.
Thank you.
I'll be happy to answer any questions you guys might have about this. It's pretty straightforward, though.
You want this entered as an exhibit? I guess it should be.
Yes, if you
shouldn't it?
would, yes.
Yes. Do you need one? Did you get a copy? Here, you need another one?
No, I've got plenty.
Okay. That all you got?
That's all I got.
No questions? No questions? Okay, well, we'll ask if there's anybody in the audience that would like to speak. In no audience, we'll close public comments, and
I think more parking is good.
I know, right? Yeah. Last guy going is always lucky, right?
is that a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve.
Got a motion and a second? All in favor?
Aye.
All right,
Thank you.
thank y'all. That's it. So, we're adjourned. Thank y'all.
Kevin.
I think Kevin did,
Yeah,
yeah.
he's pretty,
Kevin.
he was pretty pitiful.
Goodbye.